org2b, Unit 9, survey. Today is March 16th, my older brother's birthday. 50-something. Stop counting after. Happy birthday, Richard. All right.
Happy birthday.
All right. There we go. Today, here are some of the elements. Some of them, we're going to see how long it takes. Some elements are going to be pretty short, so I expect that things may end ahead of time. But we'll see with the graphic paper how it all plays out. Nonetheless, today you're going to give a survey. Now, the way they kind of wanted it, each person would hand out 20 surveys, collect your own information, and then kind of work with that statistics or that quantitative data. You know, to make this thing kind of work more smoothly in the class setting, you're all going to pass out one survey. In other words, I'm going to give you the survey, which is going to look something like this guy here. Where are you? It's going to look like this guy here. You are then going to hand it to one of the people at your table. That is, if it's an odd number of people, you all would just transfer it, make sure you don't have your own. And then if it's just two options, you'll switch. If it's even, you just switch. You won't be getting them back in the sense that you need to make sure something happens. So the survey, there are different types of surveys that you can create. Again, the purpose of this class, you could have created your survey, but in the interest of it running smoothly, things being uniform, we're just going to use this one. And what happened for this survey, just in case you need to create one, which is part of what this unit is about, collecting quantitative data. Here, these are those occupational groups that you saw on the BLS, on the website for the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So what we're trying to do now is collect some information about the different career clusters that are out there, in this case called career groups. When you see it, you'll read the instructions. For our purposes, I'm trying to decide if we're going to actually have you put your names on it. Some of these surveys were given out to others randomly, and so we didn't have them put their names, but since I think you're going to actually have to turn yours in at a certain point, we'll have you put your names if you don't want your entire name. No reason not to put your name. We'll have you put your name on it. So, step 1 today, give them all a blank one. Step 2, you hand it to someone else so that you will have given out a survey. And then step 3, we'll start collecting data from the survey and see what we can do with that. At some point, we'll need calculators, and at some point, I think we'll need the computers on.
Yeah.
I want you to give someone a survey. In other words, go ahead and exchange the same blank paper. Yes, it seems coming, huh?
Here, we'll just
Once you give it away, the survey, once you give it away, then the person receiving it, and some of you can get one too. I mean, Pope. You need to get one too, and then pass it along. Yeah, you can put that away. They chase him at the end. They survive. The guy with the helicopter decides never to do it again. Sorry. All right. So here's the deal.
That was savage.
Read the instructions, and in the bubbles is where you will do it. Read the instructions. So do the survey right now, please. Before I give you the survey, you are putting, you're marking 3 bubbles. One of the bubbles will contain a 1, your top choice. One bubble will contain a 2, your second choice, and one bubble will contain a 3, your third choice. But read through them all, just kind of see what's there. I will also say some of the clusters, which you might not be familiar with. What's this? Well, do your best on it. All right, there we go. Listen up. I am going to, which needs to be, mine needs to be, and eventually we will get you a blank one where you might do the same thing, but for now, I'll just do it on mine. I'm going to collect the data on here, but eventually you're going to create, I guess this first time, eventually you're going to create a bar graph. Remember that graphic paper I gave you?
Yes.
Eventually, we're going to, once we tally what categories got how many numbers for their number ones, eventually on your graph paper you will kind of put down all these categories and color in the boxes to indicate, so that when I look at the graphic version of what we are going to do here, I can tell, oh, this first section got the most. I can see it automatically with a bar graph. Because what they want you to do, 1, survey. 2, collect data. 3, display data with some type of a graph So we're just kind of going through the processes. So maybe, do I need mine sideway right now? Maybe I don't, so I'm going to put mine back. Get ready to start looking at the 2 sheets you have two. Or 1 sheet you have, you only have 1. I'm calling architecture and engineering. What you're going to do is the following. You're going to show fingers. Back row, except for Hope, you only have access to 1. Front row, you may do 2 if it happens to be the case. What do I mean? With the paper that you're looking at, if you have a 1 in the architecture and engineering bubble, you're going to raise your hand. If you're on the front row and you have on both of your sheets, yours plus that new one, if both of them have 1s, you do it too. That way I know, okay.
But what if there's a 2 written on there? That can't we just use
only if it has a 1 is the question.
Oh, okay. Only if it has a
So right now, our survey, we looked at first, second, and third place. But for the purposes of our collecting data, we're only doing first place. First place wins. So on each paper, basically what you're identifying is where did they put 1 on the paper you have.
No.
So yeah, you can get back your paper with your name on it.
So we get back our paper.
So you can get back your paper with your name on it.
Our survey.
So everyone can get back their paper with their name on it. And those 8 people, there are 8 people who will have 2.
Wait, what?
Give yours away. Alright, here we go. Let's test it out to see what happens. Architecture. If you have a paper or 2 with that there's a 1 in architecture, raise your hand and show me how many 1s you see.
Only one person's have it. Never mind.
So when you look at your paper, is there any papers out there where there's a 1 for architecture?
Am I supposed to be? I'm included in this, yes.
Yeah, so you should have 2 pieces of paper, and on both of yours you're going to check to see is there a 1 for architecture. There is.
Wait, this one is a piece of paper because we're counting
Oh, no,
ours
there
and
is.
someone from
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Someone
I'm
should
sorry. Just don't worry about it.
I'm going to put in a 0 here just so that I know. For you all, so that you're collecting data on your paper.
Put 0.
And you can put a 0 out to the left
Oh, on our slide.
on yours, so that you will also be statisticians. You're collecting data.
Wait. Just 0? Right.
So on the paper with your name on it. All right. Here we go. Art and design. Any 1? Okay, I see there's 1 there. There's 1 there. Anybody else? There's 1 there. So I'm going to do tally marks. 1, 2, 3. Are there any other papers that have a 1? I'm collecting data. There are 3 pages out that have that. There's 2. Okay.
Negative 5.
So actually, what I should have done is put it out here. 1, yeah. You're not paying attention to any 2s. No 3s.
There's 4 now?
Oh, yeah. So you can put the tallies, and then eventually,
Do we have to get tallies?
in the world of statistics, tallies is actually important. So go tally, and then eventually you'll put down the actual number. So tally and the number. Here it comes. Building and grounds.
Cleaning.
Yeah. No, those clusters. There's more to these clusters. All right. I'm putting in the 0. Normally you don't put a 0 for those. We just leave it blank. But for my purposes, I want something there. All right. Business and financial. Any 1s in that bubble? I got 1 so far. Just for the record, there are
Only 1? There's only 1?
only 1.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, erase that.
It's not. Please. Maya.
By the way, there are only 20 surveys out. So once the tallies add up to 20, you know that we have maxed out. All right, community. Any 1s in community? Computer and information.
Oh, wait, yes.
I see a 1.
Yeah.
Any other 1s in computer?
There's 2.
This survey. Now, can you see? How those give me a breakdown?
I'm like, why are you raising your hand? That's why I was
No, but it has to be the ones that you have.
I know, and that's
All right,
your
here we go.
step.
Construction.
Oh,
Any
it was
1s in construction?
So I did not.
No.
Education training. Any 1s in education? Do me a favor, Ashley. Take a look at whatever Jose has. she should only have one of
Oh, you know how to fill this one out?
education. Alright, so you got a one.
Fill this one out.
This adult. This
The adult.
Okay, I guess it is.
You wanted to fill it out.
It's gonna have that is gonna have in play when we talk about the sample and the population. Alright,
Math teacher?
you have one
For education, sports, and sales.
I got two so far for education. Any other ones in the bubble in education? Alright, we're up to like let's see, we're up to 8, so there should be 12 more answers out there. Let's go down. Entertainment,
Farming, fishing.
and sports. Okay.
Every day.
Oh shoot. Let me see if something. We'll do it. Farming, fishing, and forestry. It's a cluster when you go to
Wait,
the
I made a
BLS.
mistake, or no?
Alright, hold.
They should say
Hold on. Something here. Hold on.
one for entertainment and sports.
So I'll put that at their number one.
Yeah, I thought it was a different number. Okay, yeah, it should be a one there.
Alright.
I apologize.
Sorry. Entertainment.
Shut her.
Shade.
I'm sorry. Damn.
Alright, here it comes. We did the farming, fishing. I think there was a 0 there.
Yeah, but like agriculture.
Food preparation and serving.
Anyone want to be a barista for a living?
Right.
Yeah.
And again, these are clusters. And let me pause and say something about that. The challenge with career choices, especially at the high school level, and probably even the college level, is there are only a few things we're kind of familiar with. That kind of thing we're just kind of bumping into. Anybody who wants to do anything with erasers? Like you want to work in the eraser industry?
Yeah, I like race mistakes. That was one mistake.
Oh my god.
By the way,
No,
no, I want to keep this part on it. The point I want to make is, people in the eraser industry, some of them are rich due to the education system. In other words, you sell all those pencils that students have to use all the time, and that eraser's gone. They have to reproduce over and over and over again, but no one thinks about that. Like, and the point I want to make is this. With these clusters, within each of them, there is something available and that can make you rich, but we just often don't know about it. Like me, if I'm farming, fishing, and forestry, I don't even know what they're doing other than me imagining there's someone out there fishing. But within this, there are always the elements that you need for it. So, as we go down, I get it. I bet healthcare is going to have something, because again, the nurse, if we see them, we go to the doctor where we know that. But again, within that, there's even more things than just that. Nonetheless, here we go. How many healthcare? I see 1, 2, 3. Any other ones in this bubble?
Jacob, raise your hand.
How many in there? How many?
I don't
1.
know.
Beach boy.
So, it was 3?
No, it wasn't Max.
Oh, thanks.
Do me a favor, do those hands again for healthcare. So next 3 or actually 4.
Jacob, say
1,
here.
It's right
53,
here. No,
and
it's
Jacob,
here.
you had one too?
Yeah, it's on two.
Just 4.
I didn't.
Yeah, 4. Alright, here we go. Installation, maintenance, and repair, but what do people even understand as a need?
Oh, wait.
And that's the challenge of the
It's not
survey.
out. It's not my one. It's my two.
Ah!
I hate my life.
Wait. Actually, healthcare is at 5.
Healthcare, so you have to
5.
Yours says, let me just leave it on.
subtract yours, add yours, and then Jose can be upset all over again. Right, because now he's at 3, but you should still get 4.
God.
Alright.
So wait, are we at 4?
And I'm going to pause the recording at this point, assume doesn't need to see every single one of these, and then I'll just pop back on. Judge, lawyer, attorney, paralegal, court reporter, anything that's connected to it that, again, we don't see.
Police.
Yeah, I can fall under that. All right, no legal. How about life, physical, and social science? What we're doing right now is part of the social science world. Figure out what people do, what they like. Anything on that one? Again, if you give this to students, what if I don't know what's in a category, in a cluster? How can I even know if I'm interested in that? And that's the challenge. Management. There's a 1 here. Any other managements? Going to be in charge of folk doing stuff?
Oh, it's one?
Math. I didn't even know math is a cluster, but it looks like it's a cluster.
Well, it could be a statistician.
Right. Any math up there? All right, good. Here's the problem. I'm about to shift this up. I wonder if it involves education. Yeah, so right. I think it's making a distinction between the two, so they probably overlap. All right, I'm gonna try and move this up, but I think unfortunately it's probably not. The numbers probably won't move with me. Come on, come on. All right, you've got it on your paper. All right, here it goes. All right, so
Sorry, person watching the screen.
math is 0 and then erase. Math is 0. Media is where I'm erasing. Anything above media, erase. Anything above media, erase. One of just erase everything. Yeah. All right.
Oh, I guess that's all six.
Math was a 0. Media and communication, any one.
There's one.
Got a 1 there.
That's me. Right?
Military. Any one though. I see one on military. Another.
I'm gonna join the
Another one?
military.
We have to go back.
All right. Hold on.
I want to type.
So let me do this. Let me do military, then we'll back to whatever fits me.
There's one more medium communication.
Hold on. Let's do military.
Wait, medium communication.
Hold on. Let's do military first.
Military.
Alright.
2 on military.
Forget I'm checking that.
That's all hand. Your hand there.
Tell me why I feel like we have
Pause. How many military are there? 1. Only 1. Okay.
Is there 2 of them?
Another hand went up earlier. Back up to media. How many media are there where there's a 1 indication?
There is
1, 2, 3. Now, this is just with us looking at 20 of these. When you do a real survey, you wouldn't just do 20. You do probably even several hundred. So you can see again where the problem can come in dealing with statistics and just the information. Okay, office and administrative support. Hey, someone start doing this. Start adding up the numbers on the side. Let me know how close we are to 20. Okay, 18. So we're down to the last 2. Office 0. Personal care and service. There's only 2 people out there. Oh, what I should have told you is, once you raise your hand for your paper, you can turn it face down.
Oh,
Because that paper will no longer be used. So once we take a 1 on a paper, then that paper is done. 1. So the real question is, if we only have 2 more, there should only be 2 people who have papers face up. If let's try this.
I thought we were telling us what I said.
Oh yeah, I guess you keep it. So yeah.
So why is it so hard?
So that whole thing about turning your paper face down,
Are you?
you can turn it back up.
I'm telling you, with my.
Oh, you did on that. That's fine. You could have done on the side of this, but how will you know? Oh, this is the same order. All right.
Oh, that was a lower.
That's fine. Here we go. Production.
Whatever. Who are we supposed to be writing it? The other one.
Protective services.
Whatever. I'm gonna like this.
Sales.
Why does no one want to be Jin? You know.
And transportation.
0. 1, 2. Raise your hand.
Yeah, 1 for transportation.
Yes.
5 zeros? Yeah.
Somebody marked other, did they?
I marked the other for my number 3 because there was enough history.
All right, so here's what we need. Several of you, right, that's what I'm about to say. Several of you need to take a look at it and see, does it add up to 19? Does it add up to 20? Hopefully her 19 is off and it's really 20. But if it isn't, somebody has a paper that wasn't accounted for.
I got 20.
She got
I still have 20 written. I mean 19.
Put your text. All right. So again, we did your survey. You collected data.
Also,
We
healthcare
revised how to do that.
Are we ready to know?
You're putting this on your survey that has your name on it.
Seriously,
You are putting yours. You're gonna get it back, and you're gonna put this on your survey that has your name on it. Those extra people that had those.
You have to do
You try to make it look just like Hinds so the tool has gone through the process. So the good news is it's right on the board, so go fast, so fast. All right, listen up. So we can move forward. Step 1. We'll come back to this shape here. So marking on there. Please write down the word sample and then below it population. Sample and population. Now, where are you writing this? You're writing this on notebook paper. These are your notes. I'm just leaving this up here just so some people get it. And maybe I'll put it back at the end. I gotta make it done. Here it comes. They're trying to keep people kind of going. Somebody doing notes? Survey?
Oh, what's your notes?
Either way, it's fine.
Sample.
Yes. Sample. When I go to Panda Express, they always offer a free sample. Now, when they give me a sample, of course, I always choose orange chicken because I like it. And my sample is only one small piece, and usually it's chosen at random. So, the rest of the orange chicken that's in there, I can't have that. That's the population. That's what the sample came out of. That's what that sample's supposed to represent. And the idea behind it, which again is the same thing what you just did, when you taste that one piece of orange chicken, you need another one? Yes. It can go on that one, yes. Even though what you have marked on there is supposed to be on the actual.
It is.
Okay. So that orange chicken that I taste is supposed to make me think something or infer, another key word that's going to go in here, it's supposed to make me infer something about the rest of the orange chicken in there. So if I taste it, it's completely yummy, I'm supposed to infer that the population, all of the orange chicken that's in that bowl, is yummy. Well, what is true is this. The sample that you all represent, that is, you all are a smaller portion of all the students here at Options for Youth. And this survey that we just gave you is supposed to tell me something. It allows me to infer something about the other students here at Options for Youth. So step 1, sample is always small. Smaller, I'll put smaller than population. This is on notebook paper. Smaller than the population.
Not the whole thing.
Also, it allows you to infer something. I'll put think, assume, guess. All those words kind of go with infer because you don't know it for a fact. But if your survey covered enough people that represent the larger population, then it should do. It allows you to infer. I'll put in here guess, assume, think. It allows you to infer about the larger. Technically, you don't have to use larger because by definition, population means it has to be bigger than the sample. I'll put larger in there, that way it's there. Infer is the word they're going to use. What inference can you make about the larger population based on your survey? That's the way they'll ask that question, which is why the vocabulary needs to be important. In other words, what can you guess about most people?
This is a sample.
Right, so you all are a sample. Eventually they're going to ask, were you a good sample, a valid sample? In other words, does this group in here really kind of represent all the students at Options at this center? Or is it not quite that? All right, population. Population, I'll put the group from which the sample was taken. I did the orange chicken. All right. The group.
I select the words chicken from Panda Express. Panda Express
The group from which the sample was taken. from which the sample was taken.
I can't eat Panda Express because they just cook it white.
All right.
Oh no.
See, I'm writing Panda in.
Let's try this.
Because I'm thinking about Chinese food.
Sample, sample, sample.
You know that
And then
Panda
it is like the most expensive version of I'm gonna get a bunch of vegetables.
It's
Put
like
this
the
chicken.
first we all read
Question. Here it comes.
The only thing I like about Panda is little chocolate chicken in there.
Of the streets and options for youth, the sample that you represent, how many is part, or what is the quantitative value? What is the numerical value of the sample that we represent today? In other words, how many surveys did we pass out? Anybody know how many surveys we did? It tallied up when we were adding up. Yeah. So you write down that?
Complete though, there was like 3 extra stuff.
Oh, lotion. This line.
Lotions. Slow motion.
Write that down.
Slow motion.
Example population.
Oh, low title. Is it called football?
This population, we're going to say who because we don't know the number. Who is the population that you all represent as a sample?
OFY. This OFY.
Also, I want to
The
say
youth.
this full example is with like.
He just forgot the
Yeah,
yeah,
but
he knows.
So,
We can put OFY, but because there are 5 different centers, we have to be
Oh, why?
more specific. The best center. So our who is going to be
I'm kind of jealous of this
OFY.
because the mall's right next to them.
Fontana, Fontana 2.
The England Center Mall, right?
Write it down.
Low ours. Oh, it's gonna write it in your store.
All right, here comes the mathematical part of it. They need percents. So now here's where your work may wind up being a little different than someone else's, and where some of you are going to wind up having to just choose something random if nothing of yours was chosen. In other words, on your paper that looks like this, underline the category that was your number 1. On your paper that looks like this, underline your category that was number 1. Based on the tally that we did, you're about to write a fraction. The fraction that you're going to write is this. Based on the surveys that went out, how many people chose your category, the one that you chose as your number 1? How many was on that one? In other words, when you look here, so they can see it. Let's say I'm education, and I am. For education, I'm going to write a fraction. There are 20 total surveys. I'm going to put the total number that was chosen out of my category over 20. If you got a... Well, no, you can't have a 0. Everyone has to have at least a 1. So go ahead and write your fraction. This fraction, which we're going to also write on your notes, is your percent or your proportion. Those are the words they're going to use. Everybody okay with the fraction part so far? I got mine. It's 1 over 20, 2 over 20. It's 5 over 20. All right, here it comes.
Make a fraction.
what?
The number, the one that was your number 1. So ours is 9 over 20. And then you're gonna all of the tallies.
All of the tallies. All right, step 2, we're going back to our notebook paper because, again, it's the vocabulary that's going to throw some people off, like, what did they ask me for? So the next thing they're going to ask is for a proportion / percentage. Write down the name of your category on your notebook paper, like mine is education. Put that away for now, please. Mine is 2 over 20. Is everyone writing down 2 over 20?
Yeah.
No. That is no. Unless that it happens to be yours. You are actually using your actual fraction. So if you are, whatever category you are, put down your number over 20. Mine happened to be education, which is why you're writing that down. Then from there, on your calculator, you're going to turn that into a percent. You can do that. You're going to divide the top to the bottom. So do 2 divided by 20 for me so I can have mine. 10. All right. Is it 0.10?
No. It's 10%.
Well, I'm saying I want to put the decimal so that everyone, as they get their own, they go to decimal, then they go to CD was what I'm looking for, 2%. So mine, if you punch it in, top number first, bottom number second. It'll give you a decimal. Then you change that decimal into a percent. Then we get 1, 2. Now, of course, in the real world of statistics, all this stuff is being chunked into the computer, and then it's just cranking on its own. But for our purposes,
We're the system. Oh, we're that one.
Just say we're carried.
for first divided by bottom number. Bottom number will be 20. All right. So what have you got so far? I've asked you what was the total in your category, what was it out of, who's the sample. The sample is the 27th we did. It represents the population. Who's the population? Not for you, but just here at Fontana 2. Here's what they're going to ask you. Based on our survey, what percent of all of the students here at Options can we say are going to be interested in education? I can infer, I can extrapolate, that's another word they're going to use, that 10% of the students here, when that come across there, the students out there that we haven't even met, with this software. Yeah, 10% of them are going to choose education based on our survey. So write down what can we infer about our population. Write this down, please. I'm put infer, and I think they use the word extrapolate, so I'm going to put that one down too, so that when it's your turn and they ask you that, you're like, okay, I've seen extrapolate. You mean, what can I guess? What can I assume? Yes. X, trap. Uh-oh. Not sure about that O.
I think that's actually an O.
Extrapolate.
What can we extrapolate or infer about our population?
Kind of like chocolate.
And then write that down.
So it's not chocolate, it's chocolate.
These notes that I'm offering you. All right, what does anybody write down for this answer so I can maybe use your answer? What can you infer about the larger population? Anybody want to say what they wrote down?
I wrote that 10% of students that will apply will pick computer information. What is it? Technology.
Or they're interested in that career. 10%. Even some students you didn't ask. So then whatever your percentage is, that's what you're able to extrapolate. The other things you can probably say, only a few, less than half of the students at Options would choose that category. It's 10%, or you can be specific. Say again. Say again.
10% of students that apply will choose computer in.
The question, because it's asking you about the population, then you don't get to use the word sample, because the sample automatically means, a small group within it. So what I would say is, don't use sample for that, because it's going to kind of connect it back to you all. When you use sample automatically, that means boom, the students in this room. What you all did in this room tells you about, so everybody, the population. So your sample tells you about your population. All right, so there it goes. I'd write down 10% of Fontana 2's students are interested education. Take a look, take a look. Don't write education if that's not your area, and don't write 10% if that's not the number you got. If your number was a different number over 20, then it needs to be your number. 20%. If you got lucky to get 2, then you got a 10% and I'm kind of do yours with you. But if you got a 5, that's just big. All right. The next category they're going to ask is, now that I know that 10%, based on our survey, would do education, what if someone asked me, what can you infer or extrapolate if there were 1,000 students? That's a little bit later.
You're talking about percentage.
Yeah, if there were one,
You could just say 10 of them.
let's do that. That's fine. I'll do 10. I'll do fine. I'll do let's do 1,000. All right. So here comes the next question. They'll ask, based on your percentage, if there were 1,000 students here, how many would actually be interested in your career? The percent is going to help you. So here goes. Let me write it. Write this down based on your percent. If percent.
Percent. Oh my god. Is that what percent comes from?
Per 100.
Percent. Wow. Oh my god.
If there were 1,000 Fontana 2 students,
But you're my.
oh, I guess you could put my.
Based on mine.
All right, let me change it to my. That makes sense. I was thinking of you all, but I guess it would be on. You're the mind. Okay, based on my percent, how many students, based on your percent, if there were 1,000 Fontana 2 students, how many of them? You need an actual number now. How many of them? Would be. I'm putting interested because that's what the survey asked. Interested in, and again, I have to write education. You have to write your category. I guess I could put in your category so it could be generic. Maybe I should change it.
If we were to do this statistically, only 1.4% of this 1,000 marks would be for the job in healthcare.
Would. How many of them would? Would be.
And then you forgot to put how many of them.
Okay.
How of them?
Yeah.
So 1 is just a sticky wave around.
How many?
Again.
Good eye. How many of them? Which one is right? This is math, right? This one's easy. This would be interested in. I'll put in your category instead of education. That way, some could do your category.
My category. In my category.
Oh wait, yeah.
What do you call it?
William Brown.
That's not mine.
You actually have to multiply. In my case, what am I doing? Answer.
Oh yeah, Mom.
I would never answer.
Write down the problem on your page so that these notes, I think eventually they may get to be part of your 6 pages. So actually write it down. You'll need calculators. Go ahead and multiply it. Yeah, you could. Doesn't be a computer that we do, but it went longer than I thought. Make sure that when you do it on your calculator, that again you turn that percent to a decimal. so that when you multiply, it will give you what you need.
At least he knows it.
Calculator, do help me out though. Minus 10%. Someone multiply that times 1,000 for me, please.
Oh, she'll see. Oh yeah, she'll see your testing.
Yes.
Someone do point. How much? Okay.
But I can't believe you actually thought of it.
Do it one more time, please, with a random number like let's do a big like
20. And then like you come on me and then I come on you.
10%. Now I want a bigger number.
Wow.
No, I had this search that cheated it.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't want
For
some
my
money.
inspiration.
Still indication that you're
They may ask you to do it with bigger numbers, like in California. In California, if we're doing it with 18 million people, based on your survey, how many people should be interested? So do a quick one. Instead of 18 million, that number's too direct. Let's do 13 million.
But they mentioned
13 with 18.
you know how
Do 13 million, please. They're just trying to show that, okay, what you figured out here with just a few students, can you say what the number would be for just options for youth students if there were 1,000? And then even bigger, if it was looking at millions of students, let's say in California, how many would we expect will be interested in your career? So again, the point I'm making is, or that they're trying to make is, surveys can be powerful. That way you don't have to interview everybody. You make some projections, and then based on that, which is how they changed the education to Common Core. They know what's coming up in the future, and so they have to project what you need to know now. Someone do me a favor. This always takes off one. Write yours down. I got lucky with the 10%. 130.
650,000.
That is a college school. I used to have it for money.
Something is missing. Oh.
It's like civilian.
All right. Let's see. Start up the computers. You're about to get the actual percentage for your category based on what's going on in the U.S. And we're gonna what you're doing right now is comparing the statistics that you gathered in the smaller group, in the smaller room. And first of all, you can ask, there's a thing called a random sample. You guys were the sample today. The question is, are you a random sample? In other words, do you represent, is there a bias in the way that you were chosen?
yes. Because we all live in the same area and we all go to the same school. We're all around the same age.
Right. So your sample won't completely represent what the BLS, when it does. When you all did our surveys, you just gave it to the person next to you. Another kid in algebra 2 second semester. So there's very little variation to who got it, except when you walked around, Jose, did it matter who you gave it to? Was the first person you came to? Yeah. When Jose actually went out and gave out the survey, it was more of a random sample because, again, all of those people haven't been in the same class this whole time. He even included KC. And so what you're about to pull up is what your numbers represent. The question would be, will your fraction percent come close to theirs? The BLS is what you represent. So do me a favor, you're going to click on home. Then you're going to type in the little, there's a little field. I wish I could bring mine up. Let me bring it up at the same time. Employment by group. In the little field, I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes you have to hit Control. Can I bring mine up so they can see it?
Employment?
Yeah, so say, where is it? Employment by group is something that you're going to type in. Where am I? Boom. BLS.gov. BLS, there. Click home, right here in, click in this little field right there, employment by group.
Okay, that's it?
Employment by major occupation.
Uh-huh. Look at the board, make sure you're where I am. Once I start clicking, it's going to move away.
Once you start clicking, you're going to start.
So you typed in employment by group here.
Okay.
It should produce the screen, screen that I have here. You're going to click on this guy. Employment by occupational group.
Makes sense.
And now what you're going to see are all the listed categories that we had. What you're going to do to try and get the real percentage for yours that you're going to write on your notebook paper, I'm going to do it for mine on my notebook paper so that you can have an example. You're going to look at the total at the top row here. The total here, that's going to be your bottom number. You know how we use out of 20 for our sample? Well, for their sample, they had 150,539,900. So they had like a full out of their population. Here is the amount that's going to go on the top. So I'm going to do mine in just a second. So education, I'm going to write a fraction. What's going to be on my fraction? Each one of these numbers, by the way, are written in thousands. So it looks weird in here. Wherever it says point something, 0.1, 0.2, 0.7, it's really going to wind up being a comma and 700. Or a comma and 100. So let's see here, 0.1, when I write this answer, it'll be 6, comma, 100. For this one here, it'll be 5, comma, 700. So Thomas, which one are you doing? Education. I'm going to write down this number here over this number here. That's going to be my fraction. Instead of a 2 over a 20, it's going to be a 9 over this 150 with all the numbers written out. Find your category, your cluster, your group, find out what that number is, and then we're going to put that over the larger number. So what we're going to do, so let me see if I can write mine out so I can see, like, okay, what is he saying to do? On my regular paper, I'm going to put BLS. BLS survey information. This is on your notebook paper. In my case, I'm going to write education. This is the real life survey, the real deal. So if you have to choose between your survey and theirs, it's going to be theirs that you're going to choose. It's more valid. It's more random.
2014, not 2024, right?
2014, not 2024. That's the recent information we have.
Because that never happened.
And also it hasn't happened. And here it goes. So what am I putting on the top of mine? Well, I'm going to put the bottom first because everyone's going to have the same bottom. So let's see if I can get to that. 150, 539, 150, 539, 150, 539.
Over the overall.
So everyone is writing this fraction on the board because the bottom number will be the same. It is the top number that will be different. Now I'm hoping that mine comes out to 10%, because if it does, or near that, then I know the survey we did in this little room is valid. It's like, wow, no way. I can determine what's going on in the whole United States based on what we just did in this room. All right, yes.
For healthcare, it has to.
You're going to use the one that under 2014. Jose said that 2024 hasn't happened yet, but
No, I don't know about that.
Never
Time is a
oh.
Something like that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That. The question is there one practitioner's technical occupations, healthcare support occupations? I would say the top one is probably the one that we more think of, oh, it's nurse, doctor, that kind of thing. The support, I think, would be the people in the hospital as well, but not those key positions. All right, I write my top number. What's my top number? My top number is, where are you? Education. 9, 9, 13, 7, 9, 9, 13, 7.
And then I should do.
Yeah. You can do just what you did before. 9, 9, 13, 7. I already forgot mine. 9. 9, 13.
Me too.
Check with someone next to you if you're having trouble putting your numbers. I'm going to ask some if anyone's percentages came close. And I need a calculator.
I was off by.
So this is a 0.0658. 1, 2.
I forgot 50 days to save percent of our gotcha.
Get that 50 days. All right. Below that, write the following verses. Versus your old one off of ours. Versus, I got, was it 10% on mine? Yeah, 10%.
It was 11 when I plugged it in. You're such a liar. I did.
On your paper, please write the bottom part, versus the percent, and write down class survey. So on your paper below, just like on mine on the board. No, keep the point. I'm checking around for that last part. That extra part, make sure you have that. Because the point of going into BLS is, and then I'll check mark you, and then we'll be able to slip out. Like, it's not. So step 1 today, of course, we theoretically created a survey, gave out a survey, collected the survey and analyzed the data. Then we went to another source, and now are comparing our information that we did with another source to see how close it came to it. We also inferred today, in other words, based on the small thing we did right here in this room, what can we say about a larger group, OFY, or 1,000 people, or 13 million? And that's what they're trying to get you to see. You can make decisions based on that kind of information. And this is just part of it. Now it's going to get a little bit more involved with standard deviation and some other things, a skewed histogram. For now, this is the information we need. First, next class, we're going to use those drafting papers to try and show a bar graph of our survey of what was taken in. What I'm about to do right now is I'm about to put a check mark